Hi, welcome back. Today I'm talking about schedules from the mom's perspective. And if you know me, this is a super fun topic because I am a nerd extraordinaire when it comes to schedules and planning. It's like one of the things that gets my heart racing. So, upon leaving the working world of already built in deadlines and meetings and someone telling you you need to turn this thing in at this time, I was coming into the stay-at-home mom role with super excited that I got to make these schedules about all the things that I would soon be fully in charge of, CEO of our household style deal. So there's a huge array of things in general that stay-at-home moms need to keep track of and complete. Things from bills to chores to kids' activities to like kids' brains. If you are not sending your kids to school, for example. So I knew I had all these things that I needed to track and plan and make sure we're getting done, and that I was also in charge of creating the schedule. Which has been really fun for me, but it's also been difficult, especially when you are trying to create things from scratch or trying to fit your life into one of those like free printables that you can search on Pinterest or Google. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about how I have figured so far a way to schedule our lives. It's not perfect by any means, and I'm continuing to update it or look at how we can make it sort of fit our life better. But this is the way that I try to stay organized to feel productive and feel like I'm moving in a forward motion instead of getting sort of buried under piles of laundry and emptying and reloading the dishwasher day in and day out. So that's a little bit what I'm going to talk about today. So stick around. I think that one of the things that needs done before you create a schedule is to take into consideration the way that you sort of naturally track and plan things. So if you pin search stay-at-home mom schedules, you are going to stumble into a black hole of information. So much of it is helpful, but the problem is that there's so much of it that it becomes overwhelming. And instead of being helpful, it becomes really terrifying, actually, with the amount of printables and examples. So I think before doing that, or while you're in the process of finding ways that other people have done what you are preparing to do, I think it's important to consider how you naturally already schedule and plan. So I tend to think that there are maybe two different ways of planning or scheduling things. One would be by category, so separating things into topics that stay within their own group. Um, an example of that would be if you look for stay-at-home mom schedules on Pinterest, for example. You will find the super moms who I admire that create binders that encompass everything, all the different pieces of their life, but everything is within its own little category. So within this ginormous binder, there's a section for kids' activities, a section for doctor's appointments, a schedule for bills, a section for household chores, etc. So everything is broken up into these different tabs and organized that way, that's what I would consider category planning. I am not a category planner sort of by my life. I naturally plan things, and this has always been the case. I naturally plan things by time instead of topic. So in my mind, everything sort of intuitively falls within things sort of by time frame. So by year, by month, by week, by day. And that is just how things make more sense to me than by planning by topic. So I think before you start creating your schedule or thinking about ways to organize your day-to-day life, it would make sense first to consider how you naturally is that not only can your stay-at-home mom schedule include all of the things that generally or typically go with running a house and taking care of kids, like bills and chores and all the boring stuff, but it can also include the things that you really care about, as a human, as a woman, as your own individual like dreams and aspirations, but also sort of what you want your family to stand for, or sort of the values that you would like your family, your kids to consider like integral to them growing up. So things like family dinners, one night a week or how many ever nights a week you have a really special family dinner where it's like candles and an appetizer, I don't know, whatever you think you would like to incorporate into the raising of your children, these future humans that we will send off into the world. For those of you who normally read my blog, you know that our family does 12 months of kindness. So that's something that I have incorporated into our sort of monthly schedule, is that we are committed to complete one act of kindness as a family for every month of the year, because that's sort of part of the foundation that I want to make our family. Things like meal planning, which some moms do, some moms don't, but you can incorporate meal planning if that's something that you care about as being a part of how your family runs. Things like working out. I want to be better about planning it, and well, I plan it, I just don't see it through. But things like your own, like blogging for me is on my family schedule, because it's something that I want to be committed to doing. So I think it's important to think about not just the sort of traditional roles that stay-at-home moms do, in terms of chores and kid livelihood, keeping them alive. Not only those tasks, but also incorporating the things that you care about. And maybe this isn't ideal. Maybe you're creating the ideal schedule. If you had, all of the resources and the time to be able to do it, these would be the things that you would have. And I think that it's important to have the ideal, to have the picture that you're striving for as a schedule, but also be flexible enough and give yourself sort of enough grace to know that you're not going to reach the perfect every day, but to have the perfect written down and to have it there as sort of a goal for each day or each month, I think is an important way to really feel like you're being productive, and also to feel like you're growing. If you can get a little bit closer every day or every week to sort of the ideal picture of what you want to look like as a mom, as a wife, as a human, as a, towards your own goals and ambitions, I think that's a powerful thing in a role as a stay-at-home mom that sometimes feels taken for granted, that sometimes feels like, that sometimes feels like it's hard. It's hard and slow moving. And making a schedule that includes all of these goals that you hope to be, I think is a powerful way to make your day to day feel more than just sort of getting through the After I had a chance to consider that I prefer to track things by time, and then also really thought about what I wanted to include in my schedule, I created sort of three-ish separate things that I use daily to track my progress and try to make sure that I'm staying on point for what I care about getting completed each day, each week, each month. Um, I want to remind you, this is totally what works for me, and doesn't at all mean that it won't be applicable to anyone else. But just as sort of a brainstorming session, maybe it will be helpful for other people to see what I do. So the first and most important, my absolute favorite, like maybe top non-living item in my home, that I love the most is my planner, and it's really super boring, not cute, not dressy in any way. I got it from Staples, and I've used this brand and this style for probably the past 2 to 3 years just because it works for me. And it is broken down. It is a weekly/monthly calendar or planner. So I have the months, and you can see I like post-it notes, scribble all through the months, and then I have them pinned back to also so I can flip easily to the month and sort of get a monthly picture really quickly, what I have coming up. And then I have it normally paper clipped if it's not the first week of the month, to the weeks. And so I realize not everyone has psychotic tendencies. This looks a little bit like a serial killer. But what I have here is sort of marked throughout the days of the week, what I hope to accomplish. And this is sort of all of my plans lumped into everything. So this is household chores, this is my kids' brains, this is my meal planning, this is my other activities like my hobbies and other things that I participate in, like volunteer groups or like the hunting daddies. Place errands that we have to run or appointments that we have, what I hope to do like in my own personal well-being sort of things. So this is all of the stuff that I have all lumped into the same place because, again, I am a time tracker. So even though it looks like an insane person, this is an insane person's notebook, I realize. This is the way I like to be able to look at all the madness in one place and track it by when things need to get done versus, as I talked about before, category tracking, which would be all of these things separate. This works easier for me. So over here in the column, I have sort of my other extracurricular activities that do not apply to like my household in my family tasks. And then my family tasks here in the days of the week, sort of tracking hopefully to get things accomplished as the days progress. One way that I like to allow myself some flexibility and just sort of understanding that sometimes days get derailed and you have sick kids or you have kids that are having hard days or an unexpected event happens like wacky dishwasher or something. And so I sort of strive to get things crossed off that day. Obviously, that's rarely the case, let's be honest. So I really try to push myself to get everything crossed off by the end of the week. So if I didn't do something on Monday, like I didn't file and shred my bills and sort of put them away, that I just keep thrown down here when I open the mail. I didn't get to that, so hopefully I have a goal for the end of the week at least to be able to knock that off there. The other thing I wanted to point out on my planner is I have this section in the months where I keep a little post-it called current events because there's a lot of moving parts when you're a stay-at-home mom. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts when you're a grown-up, let's be honest. And so this is sort of my really quick glance at like what are the top 5 to 8 things that are pressing in my mind that keep like bubbling up to the top of my mind that I really need to remember to get due or to work on or get done. And so I scribble them all down at the beginning of the month, and then I sort of add a number to them, like what is the most pressing or the thing that's coming up the quickest. So these would be things that like we need to get the kids' passports done, so that was on this list. We did it. Finish our taxes, that's on the list. So these are just my really quick, like, don't forget this month, these are my current events that I need to keep checking in on for that particular month. And then I also, because, I mean, let's not show everybody all of the skeletons, but I also have here in the months side, I also have our bills, and so we do e-banking. So once I'm finished or I go on our e-bank and I pay them, then they get sort of highlighted off. And it's a quick way for me also to keep track of what's going out of the house in terms of bills or what's going into our savings account. So I keep that also on each month. It's a lot of writing, physical, actually, with my hand pen writing. But again, this is what works for me, the constant repetition of writing things again and again on the month and on the days of the week. This is really helpful for me, and the actual physical act of writing things down is like an extra reminder that I need to be thinking about it and need to get it done. So this is my baby girl. I love her. She generally sits open face on my counter, and I just glance at her multiple times a day. And I mean, it feels good to cross things off when you complete a task. It feels good. It's like a little boost of happiness in my day. Besides my planner, which is, again, my number one baby darling, we also have an events calendar. Super fancy name for it. It's a calendar that hangs on our fridge. But it really only holds the event, so it's sort of the passing glance, the one my husband looks at. And it's also awesome because it has our babies on it. So I make this from Shutterfly, just like I make my yearbooks. And so the top parts of them have pictures of the kids, which is like the best part of all. This is Gemma's birthday month, so it's all Jemmy Rowe. And so then throughout the months, I just add in any sort of events that we have upcoming. So it would be things like doctor's appointments or places that we're planning on going. Sort of things like Violet's half birthday is coming up this month. And so it has the kids' birthdays have their pictures on it. First day of fishing season, woohoo! So Grace and Rudy's month. So this is events calendar. Doesn't have any of sort of my own personal schedule on it, like tasks and things, but it is helpful. It's another thing that I have to write on, which probably seems overwhelming to people, like the different various places I have to write the same information. But what it does for me, honestly, it's helpful for me to continue to write it again and again. This also has everyone's birthdays on it, our friends and family's birthdays and anniversaries, upcoming weddings, Beer Olympics. So our events calendar is really sort of the quick glance of just what's coming up. My baby's first birthday. And less of like a task record keeping style, really just events. It's our upcoming events calendar, and it's awfully cute. The third schedule that I work off of is my sort of master schedule, or really the ideal version of what I would like my day-to-day stay-at-home life to look like if I was aspiring to be the sort of the best version of myself. So it's just broken down for 4 weeks, and every day of the week. There's no number, so it just applies to any month. So I just sort of figure like the first Sunday of every month, this is what I would hope that it would look like. And I created this based off of all of the different ways I would like to sort of make the most of this time working within our own home. And so it includes things like stuff I'd like to do for with the kids, which is across the top on the days of the week. So and I got that from Pinterest. It's make something Monday, reading Tuesday, what's cooking Wednesday. So if there's a time that I think I want to be doing a little something extra with the kids, that's just my quick, like, what are we doing in the days of the week? I also include my daily chores, which are repeated throughout the days of the week on here, which I actually hold pretty faithfully to, so I can say them without looking. Is on Mondays I do our clothes, Brandon and I, and then Tuesdays I fold and iron, for example. I also included my own like writing goals on here between the blog and sort of writing creatively. Um, Lesson plans that I aspire to create for our home preschool. I have that listed here on Sundays, and then I lesson plan for Sunday school on Fridays. I have things on here also like sort of big monthly goals that they're sort of projects or tasks that only happen once a month-ish. So things like tackling office clutter, toy clutter, taking an inventory of the pantry and the deep freezer. I have those listed. They're underlined throughout the month. So this is sort of, again, oh, and over on the side here, I have my daily sort of tasks in case I forget that I need to be regularly sweeping and making dinner and doing dishes, etc., because they're generally my least favorite things. And also sort of my personal for what I hope to do in terms of taking care of myself and making sure that I'm being looked after. So this is my master sort of schedule. Again, ideal. If everything was perfect and there were no hiccups or issues throughout the day, this is what I would hope my months would look like. Certainly doesn't look like this day to day, even week to week. Usually not even month to month can I like have a perfect picture of this. But this is what I strive for. It's hanging up in a place that I can look at it really quickly. And it's also really helpful to have in case it feels like the day is sort of not going as productively as possible, or I feel like maybe I'm dragging my feet about doing things. It's nice to be able to look at this and think, okay, it's the third Tuesday of the month. What's on third Tuesday of the month that I should be doing, like an extra project, or let's refocus myself here so I can sort of get something accomplished, because that's what makes me feel better. It makes me feel good to know that I can check something off the list, or that I am working towards something like a goal, some sort of goal, and this is the ideal. So I also have this listed. So those three things, working off my planner like multiple times a day. I'm looking at that. Our events calendar, just to keep all of the places that we're supposed to be going sort of in check and in a place that anyone can look at and understand. And then my ideal version of my day to day, or sort of week to week, month to month. And that's all laid out, like everything lumped into one place, but being tracked in a time frame versus individually by category. I clearly think that schedules are important, um, and they work for us. Brandon and I, operate sort of the best versions of ourselves when we have lots of things going on, when we have our hands in lots of different projects. And this has always been the case. This is how we like it, sort of maintaining this comfortable chaos. And that can only happen if and when we have a schedule and deadlines, sort of set deadlines for ourselves. And so it is really important for us to keep sort of everything lined up in a way that we can sort of manage all of these different things, and the schedule and the planner and the calendars, and it seems, maybe it seems overwhelming. I don't know what it seems for you, but for us it's how it works for us to be able to do all these different things without becoming overwhelmed, and without feeling like we're not getting anywhere. It's really important for me to feel like we are in forward motion. So not only are we really appreciating and being grateful for every day, but we're also moving towards goals. So we're getting things done, we're finishing projects, we're sort of turning into and trying to be better versions of ourselves by like making 100 small things lists to do, and creating sort of these goals that we have with the different projects that we work with. And so not only are we, getting the everyday chores done and sort of living life, and it's busy right now. Our kids are little. There's a lot of things happening, but it's also important for us to feel like there is forward motion. We are completing things. We are growing and getting better. And having schedules and having checklists and to-do lists are ways that we can do that, but also recognize and sort of track our own progress in that. So we definitely think it's important. I'd be happy to answer questions or, chat with you if you're interested in talking about it, because clearly I am a super nerd about schedules and planners. Next week, I'm going to continue talking about schedules, but from the kids' perspective. So, schedules that I have for the kids and sort of ways that I incorporate those into their life as well. So, I hope you'll come back. This vlog took the whole day to tape over the course of the whole day, as you can see. And now it's night. So, thanks for hanging in there with me. It was a lot of distractions today. This many distractions. And so I hope I'll see you, or you'll see me next week, and have a good one. So this is my planner. Super boring. Where can I put her? It's a girl. She's my best friend. She's my bestie.
Are you looking at? Whoa, Mama! Mom! Turn it off! Turn it off!
Like this. Open so big and look right there. Nah! This is what I look like? What is happening? Like this? I don't know. It's gonna make me look. Hey. Do beforehand. Hi, Gigi.
I know it's sticking up a little bit.